Now we have come to the section of the chapter. Since we are dealing with growth and development, this section is dealing with growth conditions. Now here you see, now growth conditions means what? The necessary conditions. Okay, the conditions that is actually necessary for growth. Now here growth first and primary is related to cell expansion. Okay, now that how does the cell expand? Okay, so in the first phase we come across see water, sunlight, oxygen. These three are very basic. Okay, now why is water such a important thing? You know, the turgidity. What is turgidity? When the cell gets in water, it swells up. Okay, so that swelling up condition in the first and the primary is known as the cell expansion. Now another thing, see, water always forms a medium. Okay, it is a medium of all enzymic activity that is done by the growth regulators. Growth regulators. Okay, this portion will come to the later part of the chapter. Now you see, another thing is, apart from water, oxygen is also necessary. Why oxygen is necessary? Because this itself oxygen, when they undergo cell respiration, they release the metabolic energy essential for growth. So that is why this oxygen is important. Okay. Now after oxygen, we come to micronutrient and macronutrient. Okay, so that means these are food particles. Now this is essential for the synthesis of protoplasm. Okay, now after this, see, water, oxygen and nutrient, there are certain other factors that is also required for the optimum or taken as a condition for growth. Now what are they? See, optimum temperature. For example, if we take crops, summer crops, okay, if summer crops are sowed in winter, their growth will not be maximum. Even the light, some light and temperature, you know, they are somewhat correlated. For example, long day plants and short day plants, we know that long day plants and short day plants means either it is summer or it is winter crops. So if light is there, the temperature is also there, then another certain environmental condition, that means soil condition. Some see, for example, coconut tree, if you want to grow coconut tree, normal soil condition will not permit the tree to grow, because that, you know, is grows well in seashores. Okay, so seashore, you know, the normal soil is a bit saline. So if you want to grow coconut here in Jharkhand, so there you have to use salt to the soil to give the optimum salinity for the proper growth of the soil. So there are certain environmental conditions that is helping the optimum growth of the or favoring growth condition in plant. Okay. Now when we are talking of growth conditions, we have three different terms. One is differentiation, dedifferentiation and redifferentiation. That means what? Here, you know, and the main character that is related to growth is the meristematic tissue. Now it is the meristematic tissue that helps the plant to cell divide. These meristematic tissues are found in places of active cell division, that is growth zone. So when these meristematic tissue, they attain maturity, they stop their capacity of dividing. Okay, so that differentiation is basically defined as the act leading to maturity. That means cell start from the initial stage, they are very actively dividing, then finally when they attain maturity, they stop dividing. Okay. Now dedifferentiation. What is dedifferentiation? See, first case, differentiation, cell attain maturity and they stop dividing. Now dedifferentiation here, the cell that have lost the capacity to divide again regains the capacity to divide under certain condition. study part. Now see, wherever necessary, for example, this generally happens, during growth season. Okay, you may see that some plants, the flowers and all, they don't, they drop off, the leaves drop off, and then suddenly when the season changes, for example, this is a very common season that after winter, when spring comes, new leaves arise. So there are certain cells in the plants. They don't get active that time, so their growth is also stopped. Then again they start dividing. Okay, so they regain the capacity. So that is known as de-differentiation. Now ultimately, this de-differentiation is not a continuous process. It has to halt somewhere at a point. So the position where again these cells that attain maturity and again loses the capacity to divide is termed as de-differentiation. Okay, that means tissues once again lose the capacity to divide by attaining maturity. Now see, if you cut a thick woody stem, okay, thick wood, bark of that, inner you find a very dark and concentrated area. Now why it is dark and concentrated? It is supposed that all the alkaloid and the resins are concentrated here, and then you have concentric circles. If you have noticed, you can see the concentric circles here. Now some areas they expand. Again they have got a very dark structure. Again they expanded. So these expanded conditions, in many cases it is termed as secondary growth. Okay, but here it defines the actual capacity of the definition of differentiation and de-differentiation. That means during season the cambium within the cell, they expand and they divide, then again stop. Okay, so first initiation, maturity, stop. That is differentiation. After the season, this maturity again restarts. Okay, cell, those have lost the capacity to divide, they regain the capacity. Now once they regain, it is not a continuous process, so again it stops. So this is basically the differentiation, de-differentiation and re-differentiation. Okay, so here we have done two see, one is the growth condition and these are the thing, and that is simply pointed out through the meristematic tissue, because meristematic tissues are the only tissue that has the capacity to divide. Here in this part you see it is development. Now what is development? See, development is a term. Okay, development is a term that includes all the changes that an organism goes through in the life cycle from seed. Development is from germination of the seed to the, senescence. What is senescence? Death and maturity. Okay, so I'll show you a schematic diagram. Okay, the schematic diagram here. You can see here, this is a schematic diagram. Now you see here, from here to here it is written as cell division, then death. Death is senescence. Okay. Now you see here, this is the meristematic tissue. I said whatever happens, it happens through the meristematic tissue, and from meristematic tissue, that is plasmatic growth. What is plasmatic growth? See, plasmatic growth means what? The plasma is there, cytoplasm, that grows. That means the cell increases in size. Then it differentiation. That means it changes into tissues. Okay. Now growth means expansion, elongation. Then ultimately it gets to maturity, mature cell, and that mature cell finally dies. So this is a very schematic representation of the development. And another term you see, that is a plasticity, and basically plasticity is the ability of an organism to adapt to the environment for its growth or sustainability. Okay, that means the plant has to adapt to the environment for its growth. So that adapting property of the plant is known as plasticity.